Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Modix back with another video, and in today's video we're going to be going over 6 tips and tricks to help you guys win more of your duo matches in this cycle. But before we get into the video, I just want to say that in the description down below we're going to have a link to our Discord server that you can join if you're still looking to find that duo partner, and you can also get in touch with both me and Carnage through this Discord. So be sure that you go check that out along with all of our other social media links. But let's go ahead and get right into this video. So starting off this video, we have one teammate pushing credits right away. One of the biggest, most important features of this cycle right now is the credit system. And if you aren't able to get enough credits as a team right off the start of the match, it could be detrimental to your success later on in the match, because you need that basis of credits in order to purchase your first weapon, first ability. So what I would suggest is one teammate pushing for any mobs that they can find and killing them as quickly as possible so that you can get the max amount of credits, while the other teammate moves on to contracts where they can get VPs and try to get some credits that way. So for example, I think that first teammate should really be pushing Velticites and any just mobs that are spawning, and then the second teammate should be pushing the contracts that are passive contracts, such as the Ledium, the uplink, and even getting one of the Zeals right off the bat. This is going to set you up to get a ton of VPs right off the bat, but also have those credits to upgrade your weapons and abilities to hopefully let you win those early PvP fights. So this is one of my biggest tips to those beginner duos looking to improve their gameplay the most. So coming in at our number 2 tip, we have limiting the 1v2 situations and staying together while fighting. So one of the biggest mistakes I see duos making right now is overextending and splitting up and causing themselves to lose their triages. This can happen because they get too confident in their PvP ability and they start to push fights that they don't need to take. With this new update, with the time to kill being so short, if players can just hit their shots and both just laser you, then you will get knocked more than likely. So what you want to do is just be sure to regroup with your teammate before taking any fights, because this is going to limit the amount of times you go down, and it will limit the amount of triages that you lose in fights, because you do not want to lose your triage in the cycle, because when you do, you have to play less aggressive and you can't compete for those top contracts that yield the most VPs. So I would really suggest just grouping up before you pick a fight, and this kind of does go into comms. You want to have open comms while going into fights. Be sure that you're telling your teammate who to focus on, and if you can just laser one person at a time, you will be able to win more of your PvP fights in the cycle. So in the first tip of this video, we talked about splitting up from your duo from the start of the match to try to gain credits faster. But for our third tip, we have regrouping to complete some of the bigger contracts. One example of a bigger contract, in my opinion, is the laser drill. Right now, the laser drill is such a good move to go to, because it's one of those contracts that if you have it in your match, the team that holds a laser drill the longest will most likely win their match or get high on the leaderboards. So you want to be sure that you're holding this, and what I would suggest your team doing is going there as a team, because I know that some players do think that they're able to hold it by themselves, but that's not really the problem. The problem is that other teams will push this because they know that it's one of the better contracts right now in the game. So you want to both be there so that you can try to laser them down as they're pushing you, because you want to keep this laser drill in your power. You don't want to have a team push and the one player holding the drill have to leave. In past updates, I would have said, sure, just send one person and let them just hold it. But right now, the time to kill is so little where people can just spray you down, and it is not okay to just have one player on drill If you send both of them, then you will be so much better in just your situations, because you're not going to have to worry about 1v2 situations, which was like we were talking about in the last tip. It's going to limit those situations, and you're going to be able to hold the laser drill and get VPs faster. Going along with that last tip, which was sticking together for the larger contracts, you are going to want to split up for the smaller contracts. What I would say is a smaller contract is anything like Velocite wise 400 and down, because you should be able to solo these as long as you get those credits from the start of the match. Like we were talking about earlier in this video, you should be able to just purchase one of your better upgraded weapons, such as maybe your PDW for your SMG choice, or the Lacerator, and even a shatter gun for a shotgun. So you know your playstyle, you know what weapons you're going to want to purchase. So be sure that you're purchasing these with your credits, and this way you're able to complete those smaller contracts by yourself. I would say that any hunt contract you can basically split up and do by yourself. The same with Velocite, as long as it's under 400. And then Ledium, it's pretty easy to do these by yourself. You just have to be worried about enemy prospectors knowing that you're taking their refiners. So just be careful if you're going for one of those 9x9 patches, because these you kind of want to hold, and teams are willing to fight over these. Some other contracts that you can definitely split up for is the Zeal. When you're carrying the Zeal, just be aware that enemy prospectors will know your location. So I would probably try to get a Zeal for both you guys and then just stick together, because if they know your location, that's fine. You have the Zeal, you're getting those VPs, and as long as you know where they're coming from and you're able to just scan your surroundings and spot them first, you should be perfectly fine. So one tip I guess I'm going to give inside of this tip is to just be aware of your surroundings when carrying the Zeal. But to sum this whole tip up, I would definitely say that if it's a smaller contract and you feel capable of soloing it, solo it. Let your duo go and complete other contracts. This way you guys can spread the VPs out and get even more at a faster rate. So that was our fourth tip. Now let's go ahead and get into our fifth one. So our fifth tip on this list is having good comms. This is probably the biggest tip I can give newer duos. And if you cannot communicate with your duo partner, then you will start to lose so much more. You want to know what each of you guys is doing, so be sure to communicate it. Let's say that me and my teammate have a bit of a disagreement. We want to sort this out as soon as possible. So let's say I want to go push a 1k Velocite, and my teammate thinks that something else is more important to go and do. You don't want to solo that 1k, so you guys just want to decide and go and do whatever you think's best, but you both have to agree. It's not smart to be on different pages. And honestly, your communication is going to go up the more that you play with your duo. So just be comfortable with talking with them throughout matches. And if you're having trouble with this, be sure to just play more often. You'll start to learn their play style and they'll start to learn yours, and you'll be able to just communicate more. Also, I would suggest coming up with some names for places. So you have evac, you have your spawn, you have uplink, but you also have areas in between that where you can try to create names. So for example, let's say that they're in that overlooking part of evac. You could call this, let's say, overlook. And then when somebody is pushing out of there, you could say team overlook, and your teammate's gonna know exactly where this is. And you can see this in a ton of the pro games and pro players of these games, because they know exactly what call outs to be looking for from their teammates, and it helps them gain a game sense of where everyone is. Because when you know where every player is, you're going to be able to win more of your matches and just have that advantage up on people, especially in PvP fights. And we also have a pinging system in the cycle, so if you don't have the callouts, you can always just ping enemy prospectors or ping locations, because you can open up your map, ping where people are. Let's say you open up your map, see a drone's being taken place, like people are trying to collect the drones and launch them, and you're close enough to maybe go and push it. You can open your map, press the left click on the map, and it's going to ping that location. So your teammate knows exactly where those prospectors are, and you guys can decide if you want to push it. But comms is so important in this cycle, and we might release a whole video on comms and just like call outs that me and Carnage use. So if you want to see that, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. Let's go ahead and jump right into our last tip though. So we finally reached our final tip for this duos tips and tricks video. And I just want to say before we get into this, if you have found this video helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on, because we're uploading more tips and tricks for the cycle to hopefully make you guys better players. We're also streaming over on Twitch, so be sure to go check that out in the description. But for our final tip, we have only taking fights that are necessary. So many of you guys already know that the cycle is a PvEvP game, and this means that you have to be able to balance PvP and PvE. There's contracts for both, but you cannot take fights that you don't need to take. If there's a team in last place that you know haven't played too many games and they're noobs, you're not going to want to push them. You can leave them alive if you don't think that they're going to start pushing those high valuable contracts such as laser drill and uplink, and they just go around completing like power up facilities and taking like one millennium instead of the whole patch. So be sure that you're taking your fights wisely. I would definitely suggest fighting more now than I would in previous updates because of the new 1 VP for every kill. And so you're just gonna, or I guess it's 10 VP now because of the change. That's still gonna take a bit of getting used to, but you guys want to take fights smart. Let's say that you're behind in contracts and it's a point where you can't really come back. I would definitely suggest go PvP those top teams or go to evac and camp it. Be sure to place those turrets, place those wards, and this way you're going to be able to know their location and try to stop them from evacing, because if they don't evac, you get placed up higher because their points do not get secured and they move down on the leaderboards. So be sure that you guys are evacing, but make sure that those top teams can't evac. This will secure your top place. And I know this can be a bit challenging, but if you can use wards as you should, like place them a bit further ahead so you can see teams coming faster, then you're going to be able to start limiting the amount of teams evacing. And if you guys also want a video on this, be sure to let us know in the comments. Guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope these tips did help you out. Be sure to comment what our best tip that we had on this list is, and if you don't think that we had the best tips, be sure to let us know what your best duo tips are down below. I'm going to be responding to every single comment, and I'm going to be pinning the tip that I think is the best one in the comments, so be sure to go ahead and do that. In our description, like I've been saying throughout this whole video, we have all of our social media links, so if you want to get in touch with us, be sure to go check out that list. That's going to wrap it up for today's video, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.